For those who don't know, I started Synthetix about 4 years ago, I guess.
What is Synthetix?
Good question. Synthetix is basically a way for you to hold a token on Ethereum that tracks the price of various assets. So equities, so Facebook, Tesla, etc., gold, silver, oil, a bunch of different crypto assets. So Bitcoin, we've got like a wrapped Bitcoin style asset. So essentially any asset class that you might want to trade, you can trade it natively on Ethereum.
It's like what does attract you about NFTs?
So I was a collector when I was young, right? Like
What do you collect?
All kinds of stupid things, right? Like baseball cards, like basketball cards, things like that. All kinds of weird things, right? I just was someone like I'm a bit obsessive. I like collecting things, and so NFTs definitely appealed to me. This idea of like provable scarcity, right? And so now like I'm into CryptoPunks. I've got some art blocks. I've got a few other like random things that I've been interested in. Some like indie artists that I bought NFTs from.
What are the different type of use cases that you think are going to emerge, and how you think that society will change, and how are we going to be using blockchain for making the world a better place?
In all of DeFi, every single DeFi project is having to reinvent a bunch of different things, right? There's no playbook in the same way that as a previous startup founder in like traditional fintech and what have you, there's a bunch of startup books, you can read them, there's kind of a playbook, like you look at what Airbnb did and Uber and in DeFi it's very different, right? The regulatory environment is very different, capital raising is very different. And so I think that we're being forced to make tweaks, but we have new tools, right? And so I think the key thing is to kind of like keep running these iterative experiments and using these new tools. And some of the things we're seeing now are like snapshot emerging, and like the compound governance module. And like these are all very nascent experiments, but I think they're going to be powerful in coordinating people. And this idea of DAOs is like a coordination mechanism instead of a control.
It's a coordination tool, yeah.
It's incredible, right? Like it's a very, very powerful thing. But we don't know how to use it yet. But that's okay. That's fine, right?
You came back to Synthetix.
I did come back to
right?
Synthetix, yeah. Because we got to a point where we had decentralized governance, and it's. I think Synthetix has probably one of the most decentralized governance structures, right? And so I said, okay, I think it's time for me to step back and stop making day-to-day decisions, and that didn't work out that well. Not because the protocol wasn't making the right decisions, it was, like the council was making the right decisions, but there was a disconnect between the core contributors who are actually implementing the things that the community is saying they want and the kind of prioritization. And so there's still humans that need to be coordinated, and I don't know that we've got like good decentralized structures for doing that low-level coordination. And so me coming back and saying, okay guys, like who's doing what, what's the priority, what has the council told you that you're supposed to be doing, and how do we make sure that we do that the most efficient way? That still requires like human involvement, right?
What are the different causes that you as a human, you care about?
I care about a lot of things. I mean, if we're talking very specifically, things like music, art. I'm a musician myself. Like I care about sort of creative things. So a lot of the NFTs and things like that I bought have been like indie artists that maybe don't have a huge following or whatever. The ability to buy NFTs from indie artists is a really powerful way to kind of support and allow people to monetize things that they otherwise couldn't have done, right?
Totally.
Which is really cool. But that's, I think, pretty small scale. Like it's sort of one-to-one, right? Like I buy something from one person and they have a really good day and they go on and make more art or do cool things. I think when you kind of scale up to the global scale of like what are some of the like global coordination problems that we're really struggling with, I don't know that crypto is yet ready to take on the legacy control mechanisms that exist, right, and undermine them. I think we will be eventually, but the large problems crypto, in my mind, is not. Like we need to solve these very specific problems first, and then slowly build up the complexity so we can take on more global things. The barriers to entry for contribution in a crypto project are so much lower than any other organization that's ever existed, right? You can't turn up to fucking Google and knock on the door and be like, hey guys, I just want to ask some questions about what's going on over here. They'll be like, well, get the fuck out of here, right? But you can turn up in a Discord and you can be like, hey, I was just reading this SIP and like I've got some questions about it, and there'll be 5 people that'll be like, amazing, like let's talk about it, like what's your background? Like it's a much more open and accessible space. So don't be afraid to jump in and you know, again, like be curious and be helpful.
Amazing. All right, thank you so much,
Awesome.
Kain.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, good to see you.
Good to
Thank
see
you.
man. All right. Got it.
Cool.
Yes.
All right, good.
That was
Nice.
good.